We're going to move to the noon games on Saturday. So the noon games, the first one we'll talk about. Sorry, I got a little distracted here. Not noon. I don't know which noon. It doesn't say here what the noon games were. So my apologies. I was about to go into noon and it had Oregon UCLA first, and that was not a noon game. That was past my bedtime. We'll talk about Oregon and UCLA. We'll talk about Big Ten after dark. I'll just go opposite. Sure. I thought Oregon clearly was the better team. I think we knew that. I think we knew it was going to be tough. UCLA offensively did not do much in this game, right? 13 of the 7 of their points was a pick six of Dylan Gabriel. So offensively, they didn't do great. 172 yards. I thought Oregon's defense was great in this game. They were phenomenal. They got pressure on the quarterback. Jordan Birch was all over the field. Just such a great defensive performance on a team that honestly was overmatched. They overmatched UCLA's defensive line, and I think that is something I wanted to see after performances like Boise State, where it's like, oh man, they're getting run over all the time. They're really struggling against Ashton Gianti. So I wanted to see a dominant defensive performance, and they did 4 sacks on the day. Uyunglele, the brother of the quarterback at Florida State, he had a sack. Jordan Birch had a sack. Jeffrey Bassa had a sack. Just really, really good pressure all night long. And Ethan Garbers, they picked him off twice. They held UCLA rushing to 2 yards a carry. That'll win you a lot of football games. Let me tell you about my concern. Oregon offensively, I thought they started strong, but I thought we saw some of Dylan Gabriel's deficiencies in this game. He wasn't super explosive. He did have the big pass play to Tez Johnson, a 52-yard touchdown pass. Great job there. But other than that, he didn't really show his explosiveness. I think he's a efficient point guard is what I would call Dylan Gabriel. But I don't think he's the player that maybe some people thought he was going to be. I think he's good, but I thought they really bogged down after his interception. And you look at that third quarter, they really slowed down. And if UCLA was able to muster any offense at all, this game might have been a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. Now, I think you could make a similar argument that Oregon knew they could kind of shut it down and kind of milk things because they knew they had UCLA dead to rights. But the reality is they were still trying to score in the fourth quarter with Dylan Gabriel. They had Dylan Gabriel, they had Tez Johnson in with 9 minutes left. They scored a touchdown to make it look a little better than maybe it was. But I think Oregon, I really want to see Oregon and see how they do against stiffer competition now that it seems like they've kind of gotten back. They play Michigan State next week, which I think will actually be a better test for them than UCLA. I think Michigan State is better along the lines. I think they showed that tonight, or they showed that Saturday against Ohio State. I think Aiden Childs is going to be a better matchup problem against them. He'll probably throw a couple picks, but I think from a talent perspective, Aiden Childs is better than Garbers. So I'm just not sold on Dylan Gabriel as a stud. I think he's really good. I think he's continuing to put up really good numbers, right? 31 to 41, 278 yards, 3 touchdowns. So it's good. But remember, he had a 53-yard touchdown pass, and it still took him 41 attempts to get to 278. That's a little concerning against the defense that, quite honestly, is not very good. So What does that mean? Do I think that Oregon stinks? That they're great? No, I still think they're a top 3 team in the Big Ten. I still think UCLA is I think there's some improvement, but I still think they're one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. And I think Oregon struggled a bit in this game offensively. So defensively, they were great. Defensively, they were fantastic. But I think there are questions offensively, and I think we're gonna have more questions after next week before their game against Ohio State as they take on the Spartans. So might be an upset alert for them. I'm not saying that they'll get upset, but I think Michigan State is better than people think. Just the more I've watched them, I think a lot of their loss to Boston College. I think a lot of that was on the turnovers, but in terms of actual talent and in terms of potential, they might get up and get somebody. And I would not be shocked if maybe Aiden Childs does some things next week against Oregon. So I, again, ho hum. Oregon was good, not great.